So welcome back to SwitchCorner. Today we're taking a look at Across the Grooves on the Nintendo Switch. This visual novel, it's switching out the anime style we're so used to for a more hand-drawn and scrappy aesthetic. Now before you do click away, the moment you heard visual novel, this one actually may just do enough to tempt in visual novel newcomers and genre veterans alike. With that though, hit subscribe if you love the Switch as much as we all do here. Join our growing family and let's get started. It's a story, and I want to open with, don't make the mistake in thinking this is some, romantic visual novel with story basically just to pad out romance options, because it has so much more to offer. Love is just one of the themes here amongst sex, loss, death, music, and a heavy dose of science fiction, all while handling pretty much mature subjects, which is really nice to see. This to me, it's basically high fidelity after one too many acid trips, but it provides a hell of a ride in its mystery adventure. So here we find ourselves taking on the role of Alice. She leads what could be considered a good but uneventful existence. Career in banking, nice apartment, soon to be married. Things though here quickly spiral, and what she's known for so long is about to disappear literally. This is basically what happens. A package arrives in the mail from her ex-boyfriend Ulysse. Yes, I think James Joyce's novel, but take the last S away. This package contains a 7-inch record, and naturally, like most of us being curious, she gets it into her record player. This record though, it has what can only be described as magic powers, and when she comes to after listening, the world is different and her fiancé no longer knows who she is. It's changed her past and in the process impacted her future. Without spoilers, this leads to an adventure across Europe to hunt down your ex and just work out what the hell is going on. At this point, let's get the obvious thing out the way. Yes, it's a female lead. Going in as a male player, I wasn't sure how that would, work for me. Could I relate? Will it connect at the intended emotional level? Well, I can tell you now, thanks to some great writing, it never really played much of an impact on my enjoyment, and the decision moments, they for sure never lost any weight. Also, as a character, it's completely down to you, but Alice can engage with both male and female romance options, but these are absolutely avoidable if desired. If anything, actually, to be honest, a couple of moments of romance were the weakest part of the package, purely because they felt a little out of character at points for our heroine. This game though, it absolutely needs to be experienced without spoilers, so this is my suggestion. If you enjoy mystery science fiction, well-handled discussions around heavy topics, music, because there's a whole lot of name drops in here as you frequent multiple record stores, and then the occult, this may just be for you, especially when you factor in multiple endings. It's honestly intriguing stuff. I've actually hunted down their other games now, and I've just started my second playthrough of this one. That being said, I do have a couple of issues. Grammatically, I noticed a few moments where the spelling was off or the language wasn't quite right. Didn't impact the story in any way, but it's definitely worth knowing. And then two, there's a great cast of characters here, and there's actually a lot of them as well, but just occasionally you'll meet some you want to learn more about, and they leave them just a little bit too flat and miss on the depth I would have liked to have seen. Overall though, look, you can say this, I'm really very impressed. So gameplay then, and there's very little to it honestly. It's a visual novel experience, so yeah, expect to be making decisions with 2 or 3 options available to you typically. These will though, however, really impact the story, and that's always good to see. Then these options as well, they link into the 4 symbols you see at the top of the screen: the spiral, the lightning, the flower, and the skull. While I will say the game could have done a better job of explaining these, it's pretty simple to actually figure out how they tie into a type of emotional response. Just wish they gave you a little more explanation, or at least a way of accessing them to see how it's kind of shaping you as an individual. Outside of that core experience, then we do get a couple of nice additions as well, like achievements from the main menu, showing not only what you experienced after a single playthrough, but also how much is out there still left to discover. Perhaps the most interesting piece though, it's the script and glossary. Press that right trigger and you can actually see all the prior conversations you've had, but also then dive into a list of terms that have been used, but especially the bands mentioned, gives you an explanation of who they are, but also some recommended tracks to listen to from the developers. As a big music fan myself, I actually love this inclusion. It shows it wasn't simply for the sake of a cool name to drop, but they actually have passion around these artists. So graphically speaking then, we got a stunner here. These are some of the most impressive hand-drawn stills I have seen in some time. Over the last like 12 months or so, I've looked into a lot of visual novels and I've kind of gotten used to that like anime vibe. This though, for that reason, just feels very different when it's standing next to so many of its counterparts on the Switch library. It just really demonstrates how skilled the artists are over on the Novebox team. They're the developers behind this one. If I honestly hung some of these stills on my wall, pretty confident it would get a ton of compliments. Beyond the character design then as well, the background work, really nice. It's got its own like individual like approach. It's like a watercolor style, but it's always showing like memorable locations that will be instantly recognizable to most. Some might miss the fact this one includes zero animation, but it really didn't bother me, honestly. You know, slight movement or facial animations, they really don't need to be there, and I didn't miss them. This story is enough to engross you. So last up then, audio, and thankfully for a game so heavily centered around music and record stores, it absolutely delivers. Well, you know, names are dropped like your Zeppelins and your Sabbaths. Don't go in expecting to hear them gracing the soundtrack, and understandably so. No doubt that would require a budget most studios couldn't reach. Instead though, what we get is largely ambient with the occasional track here and there. These ambient moments are a combination of like minimal environmental effects, I think like a busy coffee shop, layered in with individual notes and drones from a variety of instrumentation. While it's simple, it always matched though the emotional sense of the story at that given point in time. Then when we do actually get full-fledged tracks with lyrics, they're actually very much purposely used, and the songs were created specifically for this game and presented as if Alice was the one singing them, or at least thinking them. They have very much like a female-led 90s light grunge vibe to them. This is not only an extremely unique way though to push the story forward, but perhaps most impressively, you will get to choose the next line in the song, and that obviously impacts how the story progresses forward. It's such a simple idea, but seriously effective. My only real issue with these tracks, it's actually a visual thing, but imagine like karaoke, the words on screen are highlighted as they are sung, except here they're completely out of time, and it was a little bit confusing as I was reading at the speed of highlighting, but the actual singing was either ahead or behind. Now lastly, those hoping for recorded dialogue, you're out of luck. No dialogue at all. I actually think this was a wise move personally though. Here you should be able to put yourself, you know, in the character's shoes as you make these decisions, and having audio recorded for them would only create that kind of disconnect between you and the character. So overall, across the grooves, it surprised me. What I somewhat expected to be a light visual novel that, you know, all led to romance options more than anything, it actually just uses it as a motivation in a mature way behind the mystery plot points. It's filled with interesting locations, themes, conversations, and audio. It's really only slightly let down by a graphical issue during the music and a few characters that were a little on the shallow side of things. Seeing a game though approach the themes of love, death, music, and how small moments can change our entire lives, entirely wrapped up in like this science fiction vibe, was an absolute pleasure to experience, and I just can't wait now to see what comes next from Novebox. Today I'm giving Across the Grooves a great 8 out of 10. Visual novel fans, music fans, even those who simply enjoy a good mystery, I say sit up and take note, because this is one of the best visual novel experiences I've had on the console to date, and that's coming from someone that, like many out there, don't really have a wealth of experience with the genre and don't necessarily go hunting it out. Thanks for watching today. As always, I do appreciate it. Hit subscribe if you love the Switch much as we all do here. Join our growing family, and I'll see you all on the next video. Thanks everyone.